Hey guys, this is Mike with Open It and Play, and I thought I would do a little preview of some custom figures I've been working on. Uh, most of the figures are going to be kind of simple to do, but I'm a beginner and I still haven't really made a single custom figure, and so I've been trying to research as much as I can. I'm I'm a little confident with some parts of customizing or kit bashing. But as for other parts, especially the painting, I'm not so confident. I painted miniatures that are metal figures for years and years and years, so my painting skills are not terrible. However, painting on plastic in a way that is meant to keep its condition even when moved or played with, or even when the joints are moved, that's a whole new ball game for me, and so I'm not very confident with that. I'm sorry, the train's gonna go by in the background sometimes because the train runs near my school. But um, so the figures we've got here are Century. He's from Forceworks, and for many years I wanted to make this figure, but I couldn't decide on the body for this figure. And in the comics, Century basically looks like uh, a skeleton almost. He's really like kind of a shriveled corpse type looking guy. And for years I waited for a good head sculpt. And as you can see, I used the Knoll, the King in Black head sculpt. But with this head sculpt, I've decided to shave off and make some parts less extreme to match Century more. And I painted it mainly as a concept, but I'm probably going to keep something similar to this on the original or on the final version. And you can see the parts that I've decided to go with. We've got the legs from the newer Thor. This is the Thor that is Galactus's Herald Thor. And we've got the very upper part of the legs are from this Spider-Man 2099 movie figure. The figure's proportions are really exaggerated to match the style of the movie. I think it's Miguel O'Hara, maybe is his name. But Spider-Man 2099, as depicted in the Across the Spider-Verse, his proportions are too strange. So I've chosen some legs that are bigger instead of the original legs. And to go with Century's look, I've decided on these kind of big bulky boots. I do have to do a lot more sculpt work for this, but right now I've just added some old strap parts, but I need to actually detail some skulls onto these parts. But as for the skinniness of the figure, I think it goes really well with Century. However, his waist is just still unrealistically small, so I thickened it up with a little bit of green stuff. But I'm yet to do a lot of the sculpting for that. I got to do a much better job because Century is one of my favorite characters. So, and I've already completed his staff parallax, but I haven't painted it yet. But I'm quite satisfied with the result of it. But with this null head, I'm really pleased with what I got because I could shave off the parts of the face that I didn't want, and I could make his nose much more normal looking and his face a lot better looking too. So he looks a lot closer to an old man that's not so grotesque. You can also tell I shaved a lot of his chin off. Sorry, I'm having trouble with focusing. So I shaved a lot of this chin off to make it much more normal looking, and have reduced the cheekbones, and especially I've reduced his brow bones. So, but and you can see the arms on this figure They're very thin, but they do have a bit of depth to them, but they are very thin from looking at them head on. And this figure, he's got a wider chest, but really narrow, like I said earlier. But that's very ideal for Sentry's shape. That's how he's depicted in his first appearance in Forceworks. And also the height on this guy comes to be just about perfect. He's should be about the same height as She-Hulk, if I remember right. I did my research and I double checked it and I compared it to Modular Iron Man, and I made it line up with the same height in the comics and the profile, but I just can't remember the number off the top of my head. But okay, and then the next figure I'd like to talk about is Daimon Hellstrom. So, son of Satan, Daimon Hellstrom. This is actually what I suspect the Marvel Legends was going to do. Was the team had plans to make Daimon Hellstrom as part of the Engine of Vengeance HasLab that failed, and somehow not too long after that, we suddenly had a Kraven the Hunter announced. But this Kraven the Hunter retro package announcement, it really looks like the exact same body that they were going to use for Daimon Hellstrom, except for the head. But what I've done is I've stripped down Kraven the Hunter's body. I've resculpted his boots by dremeling off the parts and filing down or sanding down the parts on his boots. And I took off the armband with a little bit of fingernail polish remover, acetone, mild on the acetone remover, and then I just painted over his kind of tiger striped, I think they were tiger striped gauntlets on his arm. So I just used a Gundam gold marker, went over that. I think it came out really well. And you can probably see this is the alternate head that came with the Ghost Rider that was on the retro packaging, retro card back, I should say. And this head, I thought instantly looks like Daimon Hellstrom. And I suspected it might have been an alternate sculpt that they did for him that was not quite as friendly looking as the one that was shown in the HasLab concept. But I just painted his eyes and I painted his hair to match. I still need to do his boots, but I'm also a little bit worried about them because they do meet the joint where they twist here at the boot cut. I'm trying to file it down, but I don't want it to be too loose, so I might try putting gold paint on it tonight. And then next you can probably recognize this is Swarm, the Toy Biz Swarm's head. And what I've opted to do with some of my Toy Biz figures that I couldn't really replace, those guys are guys that Hasbro has yet to make a figure of. So what I've done is I've cut off the head and dremeled out a part, and I've made this ball joint smaller. This is the Sunfire Age of Apocalypse body. I removed the paint mainly with sandpaper, but it does have some problems in the waist. You can see this part is darker. It has black paint that's kind of inside the joint that is very hard to get out, but I'm gonna have to give up on that because the plastic's starting to crack a little bit. The more I do it, the more the plastic's gonna crack and finally the figure won't work. So, but I've sculpted some gloves for him, six hands, a fist for each hand, and I've sculpted a pointing finger, and I've sculpted like a come on figure, and the other two are the original open palm ones that came with the Toy Biz figure. And I'm gonna try to cut his arms about halfway on the forearm and then pin that with a metal pin. It's a equipment that's used for Gundam modifications, but I'm gonna try using it as a way to pin the joint. But I think his head fits on here pretty loose. Swarm is actually made out of bees, and for that effect I've got a lot of 100 yen store beads. These are super tiny beads in 3 different colors. Some are very shiny, some are more of a matte finish, and some are another color, but they're all 3 colors that look similar to the shade of actual bees. And I'm gonna try to test out how that will work soon. But I gotta test it, but unfortunately I don't have a figure that's made out of this exact same kind of plastic. So I'll have to test it on a different figure first, and then hopefully it glues similar way on this type of plastic. I'm sorry, I'm almost out of time because my student's gonna come, but the last figure, maybe you could recognize him if you're a hardcore Marvel person. It's a Plant Man. I left his head at home, but this is a really simple redo of Baron von Strucker's body. Just remove the head, take off the gauntlet for his claw weapon, and these hands, I think these hands are from extra Red Skull. The Red Skull buck is so useful. I'm going to use it for Mad Thinker. I'm going to use it for a Mr. Dull Iron Man villain. Currently I'm using another one for Scarecrow, and then of course it's the big man himself, Red Skull. So I'm going to try to get as much use out of that buck as I can. But this Baron Strucker buck looks really good for the colors for Plant Man, just because it's all greens, and with these Red Skull hands it's still green. Because I want my son to be able to play with these figures, and then, well, with him, but both of us want to be able to pose and play with the figures. So I'm going to try to make this guy with minimal paint, but I've sculpted the green decoration stuff for his costume out of the green stuff, my main sculpting material. And I have a head for him, which is either an extra Moon Knight head, or I think it's a Moon Knight head. But anyways, all of these guys are coming along smoothly, but the painting is the part that I'm very worried about. And I think if you've been following my channel a little bit, I'm also working on the Phil-Uric Green Goblin, the Heroic Green Goblin. But this guy is going to take a lot of work. Same with Sentry, because they have so many differences. Hellstrom is almost finished. Swarm, I'm just about to start with the bee part. But if I don't use the bees, I think I might be able to make him look really good, just in a similar way to this. It's a bit rough, but... And Plant Man, he's darn near finished if I can clean up his head and clean up his little cloak, which looks like leaves. But okay, I just wanted to update you on some of my projects. One last thing, my man thing that I got from Akihabara, one of my first modern Marvel Legends. Whoa, there they go. One of my first recent modern Marvel Legends. Oh my god, I can't talk. As soon as I got him, his hand broke, and that was because in the Japanese winter the rooms are really cold and the plastic was brittle. But this weekend I worked on him, and I was able to pin this joint with that metal rod from the Gundam, basically like little metal bars. So I just dremeled out a hole in this joint and dremeled out a hole in here, and it still works quite well for the most part. I'm gonna be a bit careful with it, but it's pretty posable. It's not quite the range it had before, but it's really close, and it's not near as hard to fix as what I thought it might be. So he had been waiting to be fixed since before the coronavirus time, so that was really good to get that done and succeed on the first try. So kind of a confidence booster. Okay, thank you guys. As you know, the HasLab, Giant Man HasLab is fully funded. Not fully, they didn't quite get the scroll head, but I'm going to be very busy next year to work on making it into an Ultimo. If I do that, I'm pretty excited about it because he's kind of a cool but also cheesy Iron Man villain. There's a lot of those around, so. But okay, thank you for joining me. This is a bit longer than I expected, but I'll try to go over some of the updates on the customs when I get to certain points. So, okay, that's it for now. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.